because they both have a more unique play style. Like they can both follow the ordinary play style, like go for deep sheep when you have your setup. They can do that, but they also do just strange things that you wouldn't normally expect, like deep freezing the kill target, trying to solo someone by yourself just randomly when you know that you have enough damage to do it. And they kind of create their own way to victory on the Mage class that you don't see very often. So having them both in the same game against each other, there's going to be, I think, a lot of surprises.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait, dude. I mean, I know a lot of these players personally, and I know what they say about one another, and it's going to be so exciting to see them compete in a tournament scenario. Just to jump into these games here as soon as we can. 30 more seconds is what I'm told by the admin, so we should be jumping into the games here very shortly. Unfortunately, there was a computer crash on the side of Skill-Capped EU, so we should be able to jump in these games very, very shortly. But that being said, I suppose this gives me an opportunity to say we are giving away a shirt later on today, a shirt from Jinx. Jinx is actually allowing us to give away any shirt from their website. We give you a code and you pick the shirt that you want. And so, yeah, if you guys are interested in doing that, make sure to follow the stream. That's going to happen before the round 2 of the upper bracket. So, but here we go. It's time to get into the games. It's Skill-Capped EU versus Tempo Storm, game number 1 on the Grand Arena. And we do see that Shatter player, that Holy Pally Frost Mage Shadow Priest composition coming out from Skill-Capped EU, going up against Tempo Storm's Mage Lock Paladin for Goreki on the Paladin, Chanimals on the Affliction Warlock, Jamili on the Frost Mage. Here we go.
Yeah, so this isn't a matchup we get to see a lot, so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And Channel's not going to be playing his sack pet, so he's only going to have 1 interrupt. Jamili will have 1 interrupt, which means Xonika will be able to track them pretty easily. I'm interested to see who Tempo Storm decides to pick as their primary kill target, or if they're going to split their damage on 2 targets. Just kind of swap between them depending on who's pushing forward. Healing Stat was playing very aggressive yesterday. Let's see if he decides to play as aggressive today. Both teams charging the center of the map. Jamili and Nolifer teeing off, building up some icicles. Channel's looking to try and get a Soulburn Haunt out here pretty soon. He actually got it for free there, so he's going to have a lot of damage potentially early on. Healing Stat already fully dotted. Nolifer getting Polymorph there for just a quick second. Xonika doing a good job playing as far back as possible. That way Jamili has to overextend if he wants to get a sheep here. They're trying to draw Tempo Storm in. Let's see if they can do it. Channel's hiding his pet in the background. He doesn't want that to go down. He knows how easy it could.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking at Jamili, Chanimals is fine with the patient game, but we know Jamili time and time again isn't. But it looks like Healing Stats looking to make the setup first. Full Fear on a Goreki, horrifying to Jamili. Save of the Light is going to proc. He's going to use the Hellstone, but it's going to force the first block, and Skill-Capped EU's opener worked quite well. Goreki now being put into the deep, into the DR Frostjaw to follow it up. Goreki should be okay to heal up his mage here. Now Healing Stat taking a brunt of the damage. He's forced to pull back here. He's trying to get the MD on Xonika, but he couldn't get it because of that Hodge from Goreki. The Polymorph to follow it up onto Xonika, and Healing Stat is going to catch that execution sentence to top himself off here at that point, and he's going to hold on to his Disperse. So great job by Skill-Capped EU to rotate through as minimal defensive cooldowns as they possibly could on that aggression when Jamili is still down that 1 block. So still, I feel like Skill-Capped EU still has a slight lead.
Wait, what's
here.
going? What?
They're
right? Swapping on to Goreki. I don't think he's getting ready for that, man. Shadow Fiend got dropped. He's going to trade out his wall. Really interesting that Skill-Capped EU is deciding to pressure Goreki. He's going to recover for now. Now Healing Stat caught into that Fist of Justice, forced to disperse almost immediately to answer the Dark Soul out from Chanimals. So now down the dispersion, down the trinket on Xonika. Healing Stat still rotting down. Chanimals doing a lot of pressure. Healing Stat's forced to fear the DPS, trying to line of sight. Zonika's forced to bubble, and suddenly Skill-Capped EU are running out of cooldowns and running out of time. Tempo Storm's looking to end this pretty quickly. Deep Freeze on Goreki. Nolifer maybe looking for a sheep. He lands the full sheep. Pressure onto Chanimals. He's over here on the other side. He can portal back to his team, though. Great portal placement. Chanimal escapes. Goreki's going to leave the CC. Skill-Capped EU are on the run. Tempo Storm has a lot of momentum right now. They should just basically walk in on top of them and say, all right, we're here. We're ending the game, because they have so much defensive cooldowns to play offensively with. Triple Shadow Fury comes out. Is Jamili going to get the sheep off of it? Doesn't look like he's going to go for it just yet. Half Fist of Justice on the Healing Stat. Into the Frost, into the full fear onto Xonika, but the double fear out from Healing Stat's going to pause pauses the game for a moment here. Now the Horrify onto Jamili. Can they force a block despite being on the back foot? Now into the silence with a full sheep onto Gorecki. Gorecki's forced to bubble. He really wants to keep his team aggressive here. The next sheep on Xonika could potentially end the game. Jamili goes for the deep. He lands the sheep. Healing Stats on the run. Goes into Spectral Guys to the opposite side of the map, and his trademark Flash Shields coming out to save himself. Xonika will leave the CC, but Healing Stats survives. Now they're forced to go onto Nolifer, and Healing Stats' positioning has been really good here. He knows that he has nothing left. He needs to play really defensive. Now pushing out, lands a full fear. Nolifer, though, getting swapped to, is actually forced to cold snap before blocking. Maybe he was locked out on Frost. Now he only has one more block. I think he's going to have to use it, and suddenly no more blocks left for Skill Cap to you. Healing Stat getting swapped over to. He's got nothing left either. Xonika gets deep frozen on his Avenging Wrath. Healing Stat trying to survive here. He life grips Xonika back. They don't land the sheep, and Xonika is going to top off his team, but they are running out of cooldowns and running out of time.
Oh my gosh, 17 more seconds on Disperse. No blocks remaining for Nolifer, and just a trinket for Xonika. Skillcapped EU is feeling the pressure of this Tempo Storm Mage Lock Paladin composition. It's the CC as well as the setups that's coming out from Tempo Storm. You'd almost think that this is another shatter play that they're facing up against, the way that they're playing it out. And here we go. It looks like Tempo Storm wants to push in once again. They know that they have the momentum in their favor. Healing Stat now has that Disperse to trade up if he needs to, but the presence of mind of this team is very good. Chanimals, the triple Shadow Fury coming out, letting his team push in. The fear goes out onto Nolifer. He gets cleansed instantly, though. Hodge goes out onto Healing Stat. Nothing to follow it up on Xonika right now. Jamili actually the one who's taking the short end of this exchange. The fear is going to go out onto Gorecki, forcing Jamili to block. He still has one more ice block available to him. The mass spell from Healing Stat's going to come out. Can they follow up the pressure onto Jamili and the CC onto Gorecki? Doesn't look like it. Gorecki's going to use the Hand of Sacrifice on Enchantimals, trying to prevent any future CC, and it looks like they stabilize for now with the wings of Gorecki. Now they're trying to get aggressive onto Nolifer. Save the Light's going to proc onto him, but the double Shadow Fury coming out onto Healing Stat and Nolifer into the Hodge onto Healing Stat. Looks like they're trying to set up onto him. Xonika in that Polymorph. They got to be careful here on the next setup from Tempo Storm. The Deep Freeze onto Gorecki. The Horrify onto Jamili. They're trying to turn it around on him. He has one more Ice Block available to him. Is he going to have to use it? He's going to pull back for now with his Holy Paladin and stabilize once again. Healing Stat maybe looking for a fear. The silence goes out into Gorecki. Jamili still taking a bunch of damage. Devouring Plague going out onto him. He's got to be careful. He's got to position himself well, but look at the rotation of the positioning of Tempo Storm. They're slowly pulling back, and the presence of mind of both these players is really impressive.
Yeah, they've got Healing Stat cut off a bit from his team. Deep Freeze on Xonika. They need to stop this sheep. It does look like they managed to stop it. A counterspell will interrupt it. Xonika can Aura Mastery out of the Frost Jaw. Gorecki now caught into the Deep Freeze. Jamili only has one more block remaining. Nolifer getting feared up by Chanimals, denying the sheep, but he follows it up. He gets the full sheep. They need to peel for Jamili right now. He's just spamming those defensive sheeps on the Healing Stat and Nolifer at the moment to try and keep himself alive a little bit longer, but they get the re-sheep onto Gorecki. Is Healing Stat in position to continue the CC? He's getting feared up. The CC will finish. Will he land the fear onto Gorecki in time? He's trying to push forward for it. I don't know if he's going to get it in time. It looks like he's just holding on to it. There's the fear finally coming out from Healing Stat, trying to build some more pressure onto Jamili as he blinks to the opposite side. Double Shadow Fury to peel out here. Xonika caught into the half fear. They're trying to make something happen on the Healing Stat, but can they really do it? Jamili's dipping so dangerously low, down to 18% into death range, forced to use his final block for at least another minute. Master Spell comes out on the block. Gorecki's caught into the sheep. Gorecki is forced to bubble. Will that even be enough? Gorecki's just free casting heals, bombing Jamili, trying to save him right now as he gets put into that horrified, almost to peel, maybe to try and break up those sheeps on his Xonika, but Healing Stat can't keep it going. His Saber the Light will proc. He's down to 27%. He grips Xonika back to his side. Jamili blinks in to try and finish the job. Goes for the Frost Jaw. Xonika pre-freedoms it, but he goes into the full fear. Chanimals cuts him off. Now the full Fist of Justice on the Healing Stat. Xonika should be able to dispel that. Dispels it right away. Healing Stat should be able to recover. He's got that dispersion. He may need to trade it out, though. Just so much damage from Jamili. He's forced to disperse down at 17%. Line of sighting with Xonika at the moment. Gorecki caught into the Deep Freeze. Nolifer needs to get the sheep here, but he did pre-sacrifice the sheep. It may end up breaking. It looks like they purged the sacrifice off. That sheep is going to sit, but Healing Stat's so low. Jamili could be in trouble as well as he goes into the Horrify. Healing Stat down at 17%. Will he make it? Flash Heal. He gets stunned on the Flash Heal. Chanimal shuts him down and finishes him off. And Tempo Storm take game number 1 over Skill Cap to you.
Unbelievable plays coming out from all of these players, really. You know, something to note is that Healing Stat knows when they have their setup and knows when he can and cannot trade his defense and cooldowns up with it. And he's always ready to go and run away and, you know, line of sight for that setup. And that time he got caught off guard a little bit. And but even when, because he's playing a Shadow Priest, even when he is caught off guard like that and he gets out of line of sight, he still has that life grip to get his team back in a better position as well. And he did it pretty consistently, holding on to a lot of defensive cooldowns for a lot of setups. But overall, Tempo Storm is going to take the series there. And, you know, Jamili survived for such long periods of time because of the consistent amount of peeling that the Warlock and the Mage could do with their spam fears as well as the spam polymorphs. And there you have it. I'm really interested to see if Skillcapped EU is going to change up their composition or just think that something went wrong in that game and stick with the God comp. Because I feel like it definitely could go either way. They had so much control on both sides.
It seemed like when Jamili and Chanimals were like just polymorph fear spamming that Skillcapped EU lost all of their momentum. There was one point where Healing Stats CC was kind of delayed by a second just because he was getting spam feared and he couldn't get in range to get his Psychic Scream off onto Gorecki. So I don't know. I feel like if Tempo Storm feels safe, that they should be able to win that outside of like some really random burst. I mean, you could say Skillcapped EU wasted some time going on Gorecki. They didn't really get anything with it. I mean, getting his personal cooldown is a lot different than getting like a bubble or an Avenging Wrath or something that he needs to use for his partners. Maybe if that swap had paid more for them, it would have been better. But that swap to Gorecki really didn't get anything done for Skillcapped EU. It put them behind on dispersions. And I mean, there was one point where Nolifer actually was forced to cold snap before blocking. So he was playing with one block for most of the game. So they were just kind of always, they had to be very scared and playing on thin ice against Tempo Storm because of that. And eventually they just catch Healing Stat out and he wasn't able to get away. And Channels was able to stop his off healing. That's really important too, is that they just cover everyone. So Nolifer's not able to defensively sheep. Xonika's not able to heal. Healing Stat can't run and he can't off heal. And as soon as all three of them are shut down, that's when Tempo Storm gets the kill. And I don't know. I would say that actually looked a lot more one-sided for Tempo Storm than maybe it might have appeared.
Right. Yeah. It's a really good point. No, looking at that composition that Tempo Storm was running, they're running that Mage Lock Paladin composition. And personally, when I see a Warlock, I'm pretty used to, especially in Warlords of Draenor, I'm pretty used to seeing compositions that kind of cater to that playstyle of, you know, just like rotting down slowly and just slowly taking control of the game. But that was a very different playstyle of Warlocks that I feel like we've seen in the past GCD TV tournaments. And it was very almost calculated and as well as like setup based, almost like a God comp, and it worked out quite well with them. But here we go, guys. We're going to jump into game number 2 of this best of 5 series. It's Tolvaron Arena. Alright, here we go. Game number 2, it's Jamili, Chanimal, and Gorecki going up against Nolifer, Xonika, and who knows? Oh, there it is. Healing Stat is in the arena, I just don't see his health bar for whatever reason. Here, let me slash reload real quick. See if that fits.
Yeah, so they're going to stick with this comp. I mean, maybe even Rogue Mage Druid wouldn't do as well, and obviously Akai is playing with really high MS on that Rogue, and chasing down a Mage or a Warlock even can be really frustrating, so maybe Skillcapped are kind of forced to play this. They obviously probably don't fight this comp very often, so maybe that game was a warm-up. Maybe they'll find a different strategy here. Maybe swapping to Gorecki more often is the answer. We're going to have to find out. Maybe they're just going to play really defensive and bait Jamili in and get a kill on him or something. We see Chanimal already getting that Soulburn Haunt off for free once again, so his momentum's going to swing pretty quickly. Jamili getting clotheslined a little bit, actually forced to Trinket as Gorecki did get locked out. Now they should be able to stabilize. That Fist of Justice on the Chanimal really not getting much done with it. I guess it would shut down some CC, but now Xonika's caught in the deep freeze. Healing Stat's going to Trinket out right away and land a double fear, looking to set up potentially on Jamili, I would think here. Jamili, the Frostbolts are flying. He goes into the silence, but they have no more CC for Gorecki, so he's just going to avenge Wrath, stabilize Jamili. Chanimal's Dark Soul right now, not really getting a terrible amount done. I'm curious if maybe he just got locked out or maybe just getting sheeped. But he didn't really get anything done with that first Dark Soul. Nolifer getting defensively polymorphed by Jamili, maybe trying to potentially deny his Deep Freeze coming up here soon. Healing Stat goes for the Massive Spell. Actually, I think he landed it instantly on the Frost Jaw, so really well done breaking out the CC for Xonika. He gets to hold on to his Aura Mastery a little bit longer.
Yeah, Healing Stat looking to get a fear. Is he going to land it? There's the Deep Freeze out onto Xonika, though, so this team's got to be careful. Tempo Storm looking to make a setup, but both of these teams are just trying to find the opportunity. But I feel like Tempo Storm, or Skillcapped EU is just playing on this pillar and playing a lot more passive than we've seen before. Nolifer taking a bit of pressure as well. Dipping down to 45% health here, and Xonika not caught in any CC just yet, but he's got to be careful. Wings Execution Sentence is going to come out onto Nolifer, but it's not really doing a whole lot. Just kidding. He's going to get topped off here. And both these teams not really opting to extend too far, but here we go. Healing Stat looking to get this fear onto Gorecki. Is he going to land it? There's the full fear. Chanimal's dipping down to 40% health here, 30% health here. He's going to Shadow Fury defensively, try to peel off some of the damage. Fear goes out on the Nolifer, just spamming that fear, stopping the momentum of Skill-Capped EU setup. And it definitely looks like Tempo Storm is just taking control of the game so far. Can Skill-Capped EU find the opportunity to get through this control that Tempo Storm has acquired here? We're going to find out here very shortly. Xonika put into the fear. Looks like Healing Stat once again is going to be the kill target for Tempo Storm. I actually don't see Healing Stat's defensive cooldowns, but the triple fear coming out from Healing Stat. He's still in a bit of trouble. He's got to be careful from these dots. And a sacrifice is going to be caught from Xonika, and Healing Stat still forced defensive out of that triple fear regardless. So not really getting a whole lot done. Even Denounce is being thrown in onto Healing Stat. He is just never offensive because of this consistent control and pressure of Tempo Storm.
They have finally managed to kill Chanimal's pet, so he no longer has Soul Link. He's actually choosing to pop the Dark Soul here, as Xonika did get locked out. Potentially a lot of pressure on Healing Stat. He does have Disperse. He's got it available. He needs to press it. And down goes Healing Stat. Skill-Capped EU going to be dropping another game to Tempo Storm here. But it seemed like their strategy was going after Chanimal's pet, potentially going after him later in the game, but they just didn't make it to that point. So they end up losing here in Tolvaron Arena, and now they're up against the wall with one chance left, or they will fall 3-0 to Tempo Storm.
Yeah, they have a long road ahead of them here at this point. Dropping that game was detrimental, and they have to win 3 games in a row now. 3 games in a row to be able to move on in this upper bracket against one of the #1 seeded team of the tournament, Tempo Storm. This is going to be a very hard feat of strength for them to overcome, but can they do it? They are one of the very best EU teams, I'm assuming. I mean, there's multi-BlizzCon competitors on the team, so we're going to be jumping into the next game here very shortly, guys. See what compositions these guys, I mean, at this point, Skill-Capped EU is down 2 games in a row. They might pull out something funky with a different composition. I mean, we've seen that time and time again. But if anyone can adapt to this situation, it's definitely these guys. These guys are some of the best of the best. So we're going to find out what's going to happen next year in just a hot minute. I haven't been saying hot minute enough, and I feel like I've been disappointing you, Twitch chat. So I'm gonna start saying hot minute more. I apologize. As well as Holy Crow. I've been missing a lot more Holy Crows. There's been lots of opportunities, man. Like that first game. I feel like that first game merited a Holy Crow.
Wait, I feel like Healing Stat dying to that Ice Nova from like 18% was a Holy Crow moment.
yeah, absolutely. All right, guys.
You need to step up your Holy Crows.
Dude, I really do. I'm dropping the ball. I really am. But currently we're going through the series Tempo Storm versus Skill-Capped EU, the very first series of today's games. Tempo Storm currently up 2-0 against Skill-Capped EU, and Skill-Capped EU just 1 loss away from being dropped down to that lower bracket. And then after that, guys, we have Please Sponsor Us versus Donut. That's going to be a very exciting game as well. These guys have been playing in the GCD Pro League and showing us some crazy games. Can't wait to jump into that. And very soon here, we're going to be jumping into potentially the last game of the series. We're going to see how Skill-Capped EU is going to adapt. Now, throughout the qualifier, Skill-Capped EU has been down 2-0 before and has pulled it back 3-0. This is not the first time they have done it. So I'm really interested to see how they're going to adapt to this situation. They're taking a bit of their delay time to talk it over, I'm assuming, and figure out what it is they want to do. And, you know, that presence of mind to really take a moment, figure out what's going wrong, and not letting the losses get to you and just staying focused is actually a really big deal. And it's very difficult, especially with the pressure of being in a tournament. So we're going to see how these tournament veterans are going to adapt accordingly here and potentially match point against Tempo Storm. Tempo Storm's new roster is looking downright deadly, man. Downright deadly. If I was a competitor in this tournament, that'd definitely be one of the teams I'd be looking out for.
Yeah, I don't know. They have Healing Stat for Druid, but I don't even know if Druid God Comp would be much better.
Yeah.
Potentially could.
Who would play Shadow Priest then at that point?
Oh,
Healing
right.
Stat's been playing Shadow Priest.
Well, I don't know if Xonika can play a Druid. Maybe he can.
Dude, he totally could play a Druid. I feel like he could. I feel like Xonika plays like every healer. Every single time I jump into that guy's stream or I watch him play in tournaments, he's just playing something different. I feel like Xonika is one of those like big multi-classers of Europe. And, you know how I feel about multi-classers. I think they're amazing.
I mean, maybe they could throw a curveball. Maybe they could play something like Rogue Shadow Priest, Holy Paladin. Because I don't know if RMD would even do as well. against this Mage Lock Paladin. It seems like there's just so much CC, so many interrupts that they should be able to stop any setups and then eventually get control of the game. So maybe they need some sort of surprise. But I wouldn't be surprised if they just stayed with God Comp. It's probably their strongest option in terms of consistency from all the players. But it's just not looking very good compositionally against Tempo Storm.
Yeah, Tempo Storm pulling out the Mage Lock Paladin comp. It seems to be doing quite well indeed. And you just gotta love that adaptation that these guys have against skill capped EU. Peekaboo, he plays that Shadow Priest as well. Go Reki, we all know that he plays just about anything you could think of. I think the only thing he doesn't play is a Monk. I think that's literally it, if I heard correctly in previous calls. But Jamili, he plays that Shadow, he plays that Frost Mage. Of course, we all know he plays that Mage, but a lot of people don't know that he is a pretty big multi-classer. He plays the Shaman, he plays, he's been playing a Death Knight recently. Of course, he is that Rogue Smooch. I mean, he's got a lot of classes available to them, but what he actually is probably going to be playing is that Frost Mage, what he's so well known for. Versus skill capped EU healing stat is playing a Shadow Priest this time around, but we saw him compete at BlizzCon with the Restoration Druid as well as the Holy Paladin. So he has like a whole bunch of classes in his arsenal as well as Xonika. Xonika plays so many different types of healers. But that being said, this is not the region that they normally compete in, so what classes they actually have available to him here on this region is very different. Oh man, Bobena 98, thank you so much for that resub. Really appreciate that, dude. GCD thumbs up. I really appreciate that resub. I think it was like 3 months or something, or is it even more than that? It was 5 months. Holy crow. You get a holy crow, my friend. But the next map of this best of 5 series is going to be played out on Tiger's Peak. We see an RMD enters the arena for skill capped EU. We have a Kai on the Rogue, Nolifer on the Frost Mage, and Talbotry on that Resto Druid to take down the Mage Lock Paladin of Tempo Storm.
Yeah, so they're not going to be staying with the Holy Paladin Shatter play. Obviously, it wasn't working too well for them. They can play this comp as well with the Kai on the Subtlety Rogue. So I'm curious to see, again, targets. Maybe they just go after Jamili start to finish. Tempo Storm has a couple options here. I would say that going after the Mage is probably the safest. They don't have that kind of horrify into a stun as God Comp has, so catching the Rogue without Feint is very hard to do. You can do it, but it's a little bit harder than with the Shadow Priest instead of a Warlock. So I imagine Nolifer and Jamili are going to be the primary focuses for both sides. We see skill capped EU and Stealth sneaking their way across. They do not want to get popped out of Stealth. They want to make sure that everything is as perfect as it can be in terms of CC. Maybe they're even discussing what they want to do. They're going to have to move in pretty quickly because their stealth timers are going to be running out here shortly, and Nolifer will come out. Nolifer out of stealth now. He needs to go forward and get a sap. Doesn't look like he can get it, though. And now the opener is going to be botched a little bit for skill capped EU. Akai still in stealth, waiting to strike, though. Nolifer getting punished pretty hard here. Talby forced to Ironbark. He did pre-Ironbark the Deep Freeze, but Nolifer gets locked on Frost. Will the Ironbark even be enough? It looks like they were able to stop the Sheep onto Talby, though. Chanimal's going forward, though, and landing a full Fear onto Talby instead. That Ironbark is now faded away. Sheep onto Akai. Double CC, 3v1 onto Nolifer. He's trying to run away and escape. Talby's able to blink away out of line of sight, but he's forced to NS to top Talby tree off. Chanimal's Dark Soul is over, but it did force the Ironbark. It did force the NS. Unfortunately, it didn't get through any trinkets. Clone over onto Jamili. Skill capped EU trying to pause the game here. Akai actually getting a re-stealth, so he's looking to find a target to open on, maybe Jamili. It looks like maybe even wants to cheap shot Chanimal. Cheap shot onto Chanimal, cheap shot onto Jamili, swapping immediately over back to Jamili with that Death from above. Ring of Frost onto Gorecki. Great CC up from skill capped EU on this setup. Chanimal getting cloned on his Unbound. Unfortunately, they just didn't get any damage out onto Jamili just yet. As I say that, double Ice Nova gets dropped. He dips below 24%. Gorecki's forced to trinket, pops his Avenging Wrath. Smoke Bomb gets dropped to try and prevent any more healing coming in onto Jamili. It's not going to be enough, though. Full Fear lands on Talby. Full Fist of Justice onto Akai. Now the Deep Freeze onto Talby. Nolifer under fire in response. Down to 50, down to 40%, barely struggling to cling on to life. This could be the block easily. He's trying to line of sight to hold on to it, playing very greedy, but he does get the ice block off. Talby leaves the CC and should be able to hot him up.
That was crazy. I felt like Steelcapped EU had all the momentum in their favor. They locked Jamili out on Frost. They dropped the smoke bomb on him, and there was so much damage, but they just weren't able to follow it up. And now it looks like Steelcapped EU is actually put on the back foot. Goreki even getting some kicks in on Nolifer's polymorphs to stop the momentum of Steelcapped EU. So great presence of mind by Tempo Storm to stop that momentum. Now Kai still on the back foot, dipping down to 50% health here. Ironbark fading on Nolifer. Full Hodge goes out on Kai, forcing Talbytree to trinket and dispel him out of that at low health. That was a potential swap on that rogue. He's going to get feared up by Chanimals here at this point, and it looks like Skillcapped EU is trying to pull back once again to try to get something set up. But as they say that, they get the blind on a Goreki, and Jamili is the kill target. He's going to gate away from these this RMD dance coming out from Akai, though. He wants to get aggressive. Cheap shot onto Jamili. He's going to blink out of it. Goreki actually in that sap. Can he follow it up? He gets the execution sentence on Jamili. The double Shadow Fury from Chanimals is going to stop a lot of the momentum as well. And then Skillcapped EU's RMD is forced to retreat once again. Nolifer taking a bunch of damage, getting the nature swiftness from Nolifer. They're swapping onto Akai in that Hodge, though. This is the orb. Denounce is even coming in from Goreki. They're trying to make something happen. Chanimals trying to stop them from getting there. The cloak is going to come up as well as that feint. It looks like Akai is going to survive, but that was very, very close, and Kai is going to think twice before overextending against this Mage Lock Paladin team again.
Yeah, when you don't have defensive cooldowns, it's very hard to play aggressive. And when you're playing Rogue Mage Druid and you're not playing aggressive, you're kind of not doing what you need to do to have a win condition. So Akai may need to just sit around for a while here, but that means that Tempo Storm will be able to freely reign over Nolifer. Let's see who decides to go in first. Channel going to port back. He doesn't want to get cheap shot out in the open there. Akai still hanging out in stealth. Nolifer does have full icicles, Jamili as well, so both mages have a lot of potential damage here. Talby trying to line of sight them, so they're forced to blink in aggressively. Maybe Akai can cheap shot Jamili on his blink or something. It seems like that's what they're waiting for. They're kind of playing on the patience of Jamili here. There's a cheap shot onto Chanimal instead. Garrote silence over onto Jamili to stop any sheeps. Full clone onto Channels, full sheep onto Greki. There's the triple CC we need to see from this RMD. Jamili getting bursted down hard, and that's instantly forcing a block out from him. Shadow Dance still available, so maybe if Akai can reconnect right away out of that block, maybe they can just finish him off with the Shadow Dance if he chooses to go for it. Looks like they're holding him in the gouge for now, trying to pause some CC coming out, locking him on that polymorph. Goreki's Avenging Wrath should be able to stabilize Jamili for now as the execution sends him back to full. There's the Shadow Dance. They're trying to catch him on hypothermia, but Goreki sees it coming. He should be able to heal through it pretty easily here. Talby forced to retreat. Nolifer in retreat. Akai's left behind, though. He gets deep frozen in the back line. He gets bursted down. Talbytree not able to save him. And, man,
holy crow.
Feels bad, man. Get dished. Your team's just like, we're out. We're out. And then you're the last man there, and you're just like, wait, you forgot me.
Wait, you forgot me indeed. That deep free setup onto Akai does increase a lot of that damage. So Akai caught out there in the map as his team pulls back. Is it going to be enough? But there you have it, guys. Tempo Storm is going to take the series 3-0 against Skillcapped EU and move on in the upper bracket, knocking them down to the lower bracket. But I believe Skillcapped EU is not out of it just yet. They have shown that they can play so very well, so I can't wait to see them compete as well. Congratulations to Tempo Storm making it on further into the tournament. We're going to be jumping into the next game here very shortly, everybody. Can't wait to get into that. All right. So taking a quick look at that bracket, Tempo Storm, a 3-0 victory against Skillcapped EU will be moving on. But up next, we have Please Sponsor Us versus Donut. And then later on, we have Method versus Valito versus Jeff. Splice versus We Back. So whole bunch of top tier players going to head today. Some awesome WoW arenas. So make sure you're sticking here at GCD TV. Stay in tune for all of these awesome games.